This call is now being recorded.
And I'm here with Nick.
I'm actually doing excellent because I'm up here in Rhode Island and the weather has finally turned warm and I'm finally able to enjoy some sunshine. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. So share with us a little bit about how you got started on Broadway.
On the Broadway. Well, I come from a very musical family. My grandmother, my grandfather, my aunts and uncles, everybody plays an instrument and sings and does something musical. And when I was really little, I was just, they kind of called me like one of those wind-up toys where you just wind them up and off they go. I guess it was in my blood to do it. And I was able to connect up with an agent out of New York who sent me on a couple of auditions. And about one or two auditions in, I got my first role in a Broadway show called Beauty and the Beast, which played on Broadway for 13 years. And I got to do it for about 1 year. On Broadway for 13 years, and I got to do it for about 1 year out of those 13, and I had the real time of my life.
That is awesome. So you've had the opportunity to perform on great shows like the Jerry Lewis Telethon, The View, Today Show, and the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like.
With Jay?
With the shows in general, being on TV.
Well, it's very fun, I guess, in retrospect. In the moment, it's all so much, and it's all a bit boring because you're just in a small studio with just a few people, and it's interesting because, you don't realize that camera is attached to about 20 million viewers at any time. So it's very uneventful, but it's really fun, especially if you've got a good host. It's definitely I enjoyed being on The View actually quite a bit because I loved being on there with Barbara Walters and Joy Behar and all those people. It was very, very fun because they're a bunch of really funny people. So I think it depends on the host.
So you had the opportunity to originate the role of Oscar on Discovery Kids' Kenny the Shark, which I watched growing up. Tell us a little bit about that.
You did? You watched it?
I did.
Oh, how cool is that? Well, again, it was, it's really funny. The technical aspect of everything is the reality is you're sitting in a little air-conditioned box in front of a microphone with a script, and you're just sort of reading lines, and you do about, 60 takes just to get one sentence right. So the whole technical aspect is a bit tedious, but when you see it all come together, it's really, really exciting, and I love doing voiceover work. I love doing animation. That was truly one of the most exciting bits of my career for sure.
So many may or may not know that your mentor is the fabulous, world-renowned Liza Minnelli. Tell us a little bit about how you got to meet her and how that experience came about.
Well, I've been a fan of Liza since I was about 2, and I know that sounds a little bit nuts, but it's absolutely true because, I grew up watching her videos. And I fell in love with it. I loved what I was watching. I loved the energy. I loved the music. I loved the sound. I loved what she did on stage. And I guess you could call it sort of, kismet in a sense that I would meet her because throughout just a course of many, many events, it's a very, very long story, but getting to meet her was just a thrill. And then getting to sing for her, and then it moved on to getting to perform with her. And then before long, I was, hanging out with her, and she was directing my nightclub acts. She was directing my shows from the sidelines. So she has truly been, I can honestly say, one of the biggest inspirations and most kind and generous people that I've ever known. And I pinch myself with the things that I was able to experience and learn from her.
So throughout your career, who would you say has been the most iconic person that you have got to meet?
That I've gotten to meet or I've gotten to work with?
That you've got to meet or work with. I'll let you pick.
Oh, my. Well, I mean, Liza's probably right up there. I'd have to say someone that Liza introduced me to, actually at her wedding, of all places, was her best man in the wedding, was Michael Jackson. And that was pretty exciting to meet him because, he was just such an icon, such a legend. And to get the chance to converse with him and just have a normal conversation with him, he just sort of he was none of those things that you read about. He was just an absolute, zeroed in normal fella. And I really enjoyed talking with him. And another person who I loved working with, I got to work with her very extensively, is Carol Burnett. and we actually ended up doing a Broadway show together. She's another one of those people that you just think, my word, how are you real? Because we've all seen her on television, but right off stage, she is equally as funny and as kind and warm, and she's everything that you want her to be. And I would say Carol is just one of the most exciting people that I've ever known.
So what would you say has been the most memorable experience for you throughout your career?
I think the next experience. I was trying to think to the next one, because every experience is memorable, every experience is exciting, and I think you always have to look forward, to the next one, and I think that is something that I try to do. It gives me a sense of direction. I think playing at Carnegie Hall was very exciting, but that was a little bit of a dream come true. But I think honestly, the next job is always the one that I look forward to the most. And of course, right now with this pandemic, there's not too much on the horizon, but I certainly look forward to getting back out there and getting to be in public again and be in front of an audience again.
So share with us a little bit about where your love for acting came from and what really inspired you to start acting.
I don't really recall because I was very small when I started. I was about 4.5 when I did my first television commercial for Dr. Pepper. And from that point forward, it just came easy to me. I enjoyed getting to learn more about the craft when I turned about 10 or 11 or something. I started to study with Herbert Berghoff Studios, which is in New York City, a very renowned acting school. And the things that I learned from those lessons were just super valuable. And I would say that I deepened my love of acting. I understood it more the older I've gotten. And I've read every book that Uta Hagen ever wrote. She's another terrific acting coach and teacher. And I think just the older I've gotten, the more research I've done, and I've really developed a deeper love for it.
So many may or may not know that you also perform musically. Tell us a little bit about your earliest influences in music and what inspired you to be a national recording artist as well.
Well, like I said earlier, I really latched on to the big band and the brassy sounds of, Liza Minnelli and Sinatra and all that type of stuff. But the older I got a little bit more out of the box. I really fell in love with the music that Jamie Cullum made. He's a British performer. Really fell in love with that sort of sound, which sort of infused pop with jazz, and that was a pretty new, exciting thing for me. And I would say another gentleman who I just love to pieces is Clint Holmes. He's just an incredible performer, a wonderful musician. And I saw him in Las Vegas when I was about 14 years old. And Andrew, I didn't breathe for 90 minutes. My jaw sat on my lap because I couldn't believe that this man was singing every genre under the sun, dancing around the stage, just a whole bunch of energy from pop to R&B to jazz to swing to you name it. He was just brilliant, and I got the chance to work with him about a couple of years ago, and we've become friends, which is kind of exciting. When you get to meet your heroes and you get to work with them, it's just an exciting experience. So I would say Clint Holmes was someone that really changed my life musically. Jamie Cullum, Liza Minnelli, and I'd also have to say my grandmother. My grandmother's name is Angela Bakari, and she's a terrific performer. Had a couple of hits out on the radio back in the 70s. And, I might be a bit biased, but I appreciate her music very, very much and her style and her commitment to her craft.
That is great. So you recently received a Grammy consideration for your latest album, On Another Note. Tell us a little bit about that.
That was a total passion project. That actually we had no plans for that to be any sort of commercial success. We really made it just for ourselves. I made it with a wonderful, iconic jazz piano player named Mike Renzi. He was the musical director for Sesame Street for many, many years. He was the musical director for Frank Sinatra, for Lena Horne, Peggy Lee, Mel Torme, and he and I have been making music together for a very long time. And we just decided to do an album together, just piano and vocal, and it was probably one of the biggest thrills of my life because he's one of the biggest and most incredible piano players on the planet. And we made this record. It was really just like a duets album with he and I. And so for the Grammy people to hear it and like it and consider it and put it into the nomination ballot there was just something that we were really, really thrilled to hear because, again, it was a passion project.
Wow. So what kind of songs were on the project?
That project, it's a collection of songs from the Great American Songbook. So anything really that you'd hear Frank Sinatra or Ella Fitzgerald sing, it's those types of songs. And what we did with this album was we didn't just want to do a collection of our favorite songs because that would be a bit boring. We decided to put the songs in an order from beginning to end on the album so that it would tell a very complete love story. So if you played the album fully through, it's almost like a little movie. And if you follow the lyrics tell a very, very specific love story.
Wow. So you've had such a great career throughout the years.
So far, I think I've been very fortunate to be with good people, talented people. You know, I think that's the key. And, you know, that's something that Liza always taught me too, was to never be the smartest person in the room. And she said to me, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room.
Wow, that is
really
some
funny.
strong advice.
Isn't that great advice? So I've always tried to keep myself surrounded with really remarkable people, and I've been very fortunate to have worked with such wonderful, smart, talented, and successful people. And I think that when you do that, you know, it definitely teaches you something along the way. You know, I can honestly say I have never been the smartest person in any room that I've ever been in.
Well, we all might claim to be smart, but you know, we can all learn more and grow.
Absolutely.
I was told one time, you know, to stay at the bottom of the totem pole because when you stay at the bottom, you always have more room for growth, and when you're at the top, you have no more room.
Exactly. Exactly. You can only go up.
So,
from there.
Share with us what's upcoming for you in your career.
Well, you know, with this pandemic happening, everything that was on my calendar for the summer and the spring has been canceled, you know, obviously because of restrictions and health scares. But in the meantime, I can't sit still. You don't know me well yet, but Andrew, I can't sit still for 2 seconds. I have to do something. So I've decided to go forward with a new album, which is kind of exciting. New albums usually take a lot of time and a lot of money. But since I have plenty of time and I have a reasonably small amount of money that I can put towards it, I've decided to continue my plans with a plan to release a brand new album. Hopefully this summer it'll come out. That's sort of the goal. But the album is a retrospective look back on my last 25 years in show business. And the very first recording is of me at 4.5 years old. And the last recording is of me now at 28. Well, I'll be 29, but at 28 years old now. So it's the last 25 years of my career and a nice little collection, a little compilation of old recordings, new recordings, unreleased recordings, newly remastered recordings, and it should be really exciting once it does come out.
So are they Broadway covers or original songs, or what's on there?
They're mainly covers. They're mainly covers, some from Broadway, but not all of them. A lot of them from the Great American Songbook, songs, you know, again, made famous by Ella and Frank and you know, some songs from Broadway. And actually I'm working on trying to get the rights to a clip of me on Broadway if I can find the people that will give me permission to use it. I've got a wonderful clip of myself and Magnum PI, Mr. Tom Selleck. We did a Broadway show together called The Thousand Clowns, and in it we played the ukulele and did a little ukulele number for about a minute and a half. And if I can buy the rights to that, I'd like to put that on the album as well.
Wow, that had to be an incredible
If you know anyone who who knows where I can buy the rights to that, let me know, because I'd love to include that.
Well, if we run across it, I'll sure let you know. So share with us a funny story that has happened to you throughout your career, whether it be a stage mishap or something that really just sticks out to you.
Oh my goodness, it happens very often. I'd say one time I was doing this concert I won't say where, but somewhere where it was just really horrendous, you know. And I have to tell you, Andrew, to be totally honest with you, every audience is a great audience. There's no such thing as a bad audience. You know, the energies can be different in every concert, but you know, an audience really, it's your job as a performer to reach the audience, you know. Well, there was this one particular performance where the audience just was not great. And I hate to say it, but they were just rotten. I mean, they were rude, they were talking, they didn't really care, they were not really paying attention. And it was just horrendous. And it was one of those nights where the energy was just way off, and we just thought, God, how much longer do we have to be on stage? Can I just get off now? And then to make matters completely worse and also simultaneously hilarious, the lights went out. So now I'm singing in the dark with my musicians, and we just laughed. We said, oh my word, this is one for the books. The night that the lights went out on stage. And we just said, you know what? We're calling it a day. 2 more songs and we're off the stage.
Wow. So,
but that's pretty rare and far and few between. There's always a lot of highlights. Oh, I will say there was one time in particular I got a heckler, which I don't usually get hecklers, but I got heckled one time. I was in Florida with Liza Minnelli, and I came out. I was her opening act, and about 2 songs into my set, some gentleman from the top of the balcony screamed out and said, "Get off! We want Liza!" And I ran quick on my feet, and I said, "Well, believe me, I want her out here too. But in the meantime, she sent me to keep you company. She'll be with you in a few minutes." And I just plowed ahead. You know, so every once in a while you'll get something crazy like that. But I have to tell you, it's such a joyful occupation, because it's such an interchange of love and music and positivity, and the energy from a concert like that is usually really outstanding. So I have to tell you, it's really been great. I haven't had too many crazy experiences out of the ordinary.
Well, it has been a great time with you, Nicholas. Share with our listeners how we can find out more about you and what you do.
Certainly. Well, I'm up on Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon and iTunes. If people want to download my music, or you can also check out my website, which is thenicholasking.com. Unfortunately, I would say come see me this summer. We have a lot of tour dates, but at the moment, we're up to maybe about August, September for things getting to resume. So I'm not entirely sure when things will get back up and running. But hopefully sooner than later, we'll be back up and running in the concert world, and hopefully I'll get a chance to meet some of you if you're able to make it.
Well, thank you so much, Nicholas, for coming on. God bless you, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks very much, Andrew. It was a pleasure to chat with you, and look forward to the next time.
All right.
Take care. Stay healthy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now.